She's 4 years old, and her husband is 30. Find out why they got married. A very strange fact is what you're going to see in this video. This 4-year-old girl married a 30-year-old man. Was she forced to marry this man? How did her parents react to that? Did we make you super intrigued? Let's watch this video. Renee Sales, a woman born in New York, from a very young age, always had the dream of getting married and having many children. In her final year of high school, a handsome young man named Nick joined the school she attended. Renee fell in love immediately, but luckily for her, love at first sight didn't just happen to her. As soon as the boy walked through the classroom door, they looked at each other and he smiled. The young woman blushed and became quite nervous. In the interval between one class and another, Nick proved to be a very determined guy in the things he wanted as he walked towards Renee, sat next to her, and started a conversation. It didn't take long for them to become friends, actually more than that, and it only took 2 weeks before Nick confessed to Renee and they started dating. The parents of both believed that it was certainly just that infamous summer love, but the love they had and the commitment they established, even wearing rings, showed more and more to everyone that they loved each other very much. As soon as Nick and Renee graduated from high school, they decided to attend the same university to stay close. After 4 years, they were already engaged and they couldn't wait to finish their courses, because as soon as they got their first job, they'd get married in a beautiful ceremony. Their wish soon came true, and within a year they got great jobs and were able to get married as they had always dreamed. As a result of the couple's love, within just a few months, Renee had confirmation that she was pregnant in a pharmacy test, which came back positive. They did all the necessary exams periodically, and the long-awaited time came faster than they imagined. The fruit of their love was named Abby. The responsibility of taking care of a child is great, although in the movies it's preached the opposite, and Nick realized that too late. The man felt trapped because he couldn't go out with his friends anymore like before. The baby cried all the time, as it is with most newborns, and Renee didn't have as much time for him as in the old days, so he had a big decision. Nick filed for divorce and said he couldn't take it all. Renee was very shaken, but she moved on with her life and knew how much Abby needed her. What this mother still had no idea was that in the future, that little girl would need her even more. When Abby turned 4 years old, she started to feel really bad. At first, her mother believed it was just a bad flu, but that fell apart when she started to have a lot of chills, fatigue, dizziness, and a lot of fever. Renee saw no alternative as her symptoms worsened and took Abby to the doctor. By doing a lot of detailed tests, it was found that the little girl had leukemia. The doctor indicated Renee to take the little girl to be treated at the Melodies Center, which is a children's hospital. This is something that no one should go through in life, especially when you're a child. Renee wasn't going to give up her little one that easily, so she took her to the center to start treatment. The doctor in charge of taking care of Abby was Matt Heckling. Abby was taken every week for chemotherapy, and soon the doctor developed a very close relationship with the little girl. One day as they were leaving the house to go to the hospital, Abby surprised her mother by saying that she wanted to marry a boy. Renee was surprised at her daughter, imagining that the little one's Prince Charming could be some friend from some hospital ward or a friend from school class, but she was totally wrong in her assumptions. Upon asking who he was, Abby shocked her when she mentioned that she was excited to go to the clinic for treatment because she was looking forward to marrying Matt, her favorite doctor. Renee didn't answer Abby, but at that moment she started to think of something very special. As soon as Matt finished medicating Abby, the little girl laid on the bed, and as she was quite sleepy, Renee felt that this was the perfect time. She asked the doctor if they could talk alone away from the little one. The man didn't hesitate, and they walked towards a small private room. Renee, somewhat embarrassed, said that she had an unusual request to make. Matt, without understanding much, asked her to continue talking. Then Renee said, "Matt, this is certainly the most unusual request anyone's ever made to you, but I want to ask you to marry my daughter." Matt's eyes widened in surprise, and he had a very confused expression on his face, which is quite understandable. After all, that woman in front of him was asking a 30-year-old man to marry a 4-year-old girl. Renee laughed and said it wasn't quite what he was thinking, and continued, "I'm not sure what's going through your head at the moment, but it's not like that. As you know, Abby is very attached to you, and I know that if these are the last years of her life, she would be very happy to marry the doctor she loved so much. Matt laughed, relieved after not understanding very well at first, and was silent for a few minutes, analyzing the situation and thinking about it. It didn't take long for Matt to smile at Renee and say yes. Matt and all the hospital staff were willing to fulfill the little girl's heart's desire, so they helped put on the role play, or rather the entire wedding party, complete with everything. On the fateful day of the celebration, all the nurses and doctors prepared everything for the event. They were the ones who organized the decoration. Flowers and even snacks and sweets were reserved for the celebration day. While everyone at the hospital was organizing the ceremony, Abby's mother went to a wedding clothing store and bought a beautiful white dress, which would probably be worn by the bridesmaid at an ordinary wedding. And Matt also dressed up. He was wearing a tuxedo shirt. At the start of the ceremony, Abby was led by her mother down the aisle with rose petals, while 2 nurses acted as her bridesmaids. However, it didn't take long because when the little girl saw Matt, she ran to hug him. And to make it all more realistic, Dr. Jennifer Pierce officiated the wedding by formally saying, "We are gathered here today at the Melody Center to witness the wedding of Matt and Abby." During the beautiful ceremony, Abby happily asked Matt, "Will you marry me?" Matt replied smiling, "Of course I'll marry you." When they sealed their vows with a hug and exchanged rings, everyone applauded. As everyone who helped at the wedding party thought of absolutely everything, a cart marked newlywed and with cans tied to the back appeared in the hallway. Abby, very surprised and excited, got inside the cart, and Matt went out pushing her through the aisles of the medical center for everyone to see the newlyweds. Abby was presented with a framed photo of her and Matt, which was signed by the entire staff at the center. As soon as she took the frame in her hands, with a smile, she said that it was the best day ever. After such a special moment, nurse Lori Chiafardoni posted the video of the ceremony on her Facebook, and it reached an incredible 24 million views. The story of the 4-year-old girl with a 30-year-old husband quickly spread, and a news program wasted no time in doing an interview. Matt said he was very excited to be part of such an important moment for the little girl, and said, "Being here and meeting these special people is a great opportunity because we can create these memories, so that patients can hold on to such a good memory." It may seem like a small gesture, but for the girl, it was a dream come true. This was an enchanted dream to make her forget, at least for a few hours, the harsh reality of having to take pills for her treatment. Abby still had a 1.5 years of treatment ahead of her, but Matt and the entire staff at the Children's Center hoped that the memories of that special day for the little one would keep her spirits up to keep fighting for her life. And speaking of children, watch the emotional story of this mother who gave her daughter popcorn, and 2 months later, she had a terrible surprise. Click and watch.